All right. Hello, everybody. Happy Thursday. So today, my theme for this week talking about is more of the self talk. Like words matter, absolutely. But really, it's that self talk, how our words to ourself really impact negative, positive, like it can really make or break our progress. So, what I'm talking about when I say this is things like, if we're going to, for example, I always use this, it's kind of a classic example. Most people can relate to food. A lot of us, eat well, and it can be difficult, especially the holidays, all the treats, Valentine's Day, there's going to be chocolates everywhere. Then there's Easter, more chocolate. Um, So I always use kind of the treats as an example because I feel like most of us relate to that really well. Whereas whatever the treat is, let's say you have the chocolate sitting beside you or whatever, and you want to have them in the house for Christmas, Easter, whatever it is, or maybe like any other treats. There's a leftover birthday cake in the fridge, whatever, and you want to eat it like sparingly, but it is difficult because things are tasty and we want to eat them, and that's just how we are, right? But it's those words we say to ourselves, like, oh, like, should I eat that? Oh, I want to eat that. It's so delicious. The difference between I can't have that and I choose not to eat that, right? And you can really feel the difference in this where I can't have that. It's like you're kind of being scolded. It's almost a bit punishing. It's like you're being denied and deprived. It's this very negative word, right? There's nothing in that, I can't have that. There's nothing in there that makes you feel good. Everything about it makes you kind of feel bad, right? So, as opposed to saying, I choose not to eat that for, whatever various reasons, you don't have to give a reason. You just be like, I choose not to eat that. That is very empowering. That's like, I'm in control. I choose my health over that treat, and however you want to frame it to really feel extra good about yourself. But I can't have that versus I choose not to eat that. Either which way, you're not eating the treat, but one is kind of beating you down, kind of really taking that negative emotional toll. The other one is empowering you. It's very positive. You feel good. You feel proud. You're like, yeah, I made a great choice. I'm not eating that. Same outcome, but very, very drastic difference in our mental, emotional health. And you have to think about how many different ways, different areas of our life that we have this negative self talk, right? Where, and I know I had this pointed out last week for me. I grew up in a family of kind of never being good enough. I was the honor student. And even if I got 92 on a test, I could have still done better. Like everything was, I could have done better. It was never good enough. And so my mentor had pointed out to me last week that I'm very hard on myself. And I thought, no, I don't think that's right. But then I realized, having this pointed out to me, I can't remember what the situation was, but I thought something to the extent of, well, I could have done it like this or something, or maybe I should have put that in there, but that's okay. It's good enough. And so, what I've been doing this whole time is kind of glossing over the first part of negativity and being like, focusing on kind of the switch of like, well, it's good enough. So, hey, good, blah, blah, blah. And then I'm happy, I'm positive, and I carry on. But I'm still doing the first part. I'm still saying it's not good enough. So, even though, I can say afterwards, well, whatever, it's fine. I've still kind of beaten myself down. Like, but you could have done better. Like I've already said that to myself. So even if I think it's good enough, I've still already said, yeah, but you could have done better. So I didn't really realize I was doing this. And then, yes, that has been brought to my attention. So definitely that's going to be my next thing of really, I don't want to say struggling, but trying very, very hard, very specifically to pay attention to all of these little things I say to myself that I hadn't really been noticing before. I talk a lot about having that awareness in the body, and I think that's super important. And that had been my focus for the past couple of months, to really make sure I was grounding myself, have my, don't be too hard masculine pushing, like doing, getting, business, 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 neglecting the feminine of the rest, the self-care, the, just being present and being still. I really make sure those are balanced, being really um, heightened about listening to my body, my intuition, and all that. So I was just really focused on kind of more the physical awareness. And yeah, so that these words, that really took me by surprise there, because I never would have guessed that I, in place of, my teachers, my parents, who were always not good enough, not good enough, you can do better, you can do better, you can do better, I'm now doing that to myself. Like, that is crazy. And you have to think, like, that's a slightly toxic relationship where now I'm telling myself I'm never good enough. Like, that is crazy. So obviously, I've talked about in the past, and I've done episodes and videos already quite a bit on the words matter, because they really do. Words matter when you say them to other people. They matter when you hear them from other people. Those conversing with other human beings, and really having your awareness to not assume and choose your words appropriately, respond versus react and all that. But I haven't done a lot on talking to ourselves necessarily. I talk a lot about positivity and gratitude. But yeah, really having that awareness about what are those little words, what are our daily vocabulary that we say to ourselves. And I have done, the example with the treats before. I've used that one a lot, but it's all the other times in all the other areas of our lives, like at work. How many times do you catch yourself saying these little, you know, oh, whatever, okay, good enough. But that's not an empowering statement. Like, I know when we talk about getting over perfection, it's that's one of the things that a lot of people will use to try and get out of having to have everything perfect. Is good enough is good enough. And I agree, absolutely, like, good enough is good enough. But it's also having that reframe of, what are the words that empower you to know, understand, and believe that when your project is good enough, that it's ready, right? As opposed to, oh, that's good enough. We don't feel that, doesn't feel good. When you hear it, when you, like, there's not a good feeling when I say, well, that's good enough. It's kind of like I'm giving up, instead of being like, well, I could tweak this for the next 200 years and it'll never be perfect, because perfect doesn't exist. So, yeah, I like how this looks. I am very happy with this. I'm comfortable with this. Yes, this is ready. It's the exact same thing you're going to put out. I'm thinking kind of in my head, I'm visualizing like a website or a landing page of something. You can always go back and tweak it. There's always other things. There's always, we see some flashy thing later and we're like, ooh, that's fun, I should put that. There's always things we can come up with, right? But it's that, I like it. It's good. This is going to work. I'm putting it out. It's not perfect, but it doesn't have to be. It's perfect for what I need it to be. Choosing this language that makes you feel good, makes you feel excited, and really empowers you to be like, yes, complete, done, moving on, and you feel great, as opposed to like, oh God, it's been like long enough. I can't get it perfect. Perfect doesn't exist. Okay. Yeah, I guess it's good enough. Okay. That doesn't feel good. Your energy is terrible. And now you're walking away from the project feeling, right? Pardon me. So there's a big difference there. And again, it's all just the language we're using. And truly, you can't help but, depending on those words, also depends on the feeling you put behind it. Like, I can't right away. Nobody's like, I can't have that. Like, it's like an oxymoron. It doesn't exist. I choose not to eat that. That you can actually say that. Maybe you get a little excited, you feel a bit silly, but it's still the appropriate emotion for the word. And there's nothing empowering about like, I can't. right? So it's really, again, minding what we're saying to ourselves, making sure that you're not being your own worst enemy, because a lot of us, especially, we've been in that overwhelm. Hyper control is our survival mechanism. That's, all the chaos. Overwhelm is literally just too much stuff. That's what overwhelm is. Not enough time and just too much crap everywhere. That's why I talk a lot about organizing the chaos. That's like basic, step 1 or step 2 in your journeys. You need to organize the chaos, because you cannot function with all of this nonsense just all the time about you, and you're just like, "Oh my god, stop." Right? So you need to get organized, but in that overwhelm, our survival mechanism is to start being as controlling as possible, to try and wrangle in these pieces. So that's why we have pretty severe control issues. I feel like the longer you're in the overwhelm, probably the more control issues you're going to develop. I know this from personal experience. Total control freak here. Definitely, I've come a long way. I'm a lot better, but I still have those issues that I work with every day to try and be like, all right, listen, we can't make people see that, or like it was 2 days ago, I put out a post, one of those little postcard posts where you do just write on the color a couple little lines on Facebook. And someone completely misinterpreted what I was meaning to say. And I'm like, okay, well, and I felt, for a moment, I felt a little annoyed. I'm like, why doesn't she get it? And then I'm like, you can't control how people choose to read things. Because the other thing is, whatever's in her mind, whatever she's focusing on, maybe she has a trigger that there's something she needs to deal with. She's going to apply all of that to my words. This is where, if you ever have people that are like, they just pull the most obscure, ridiculous result out of something you've said, and you're like, how did you even make that connection? Because people, whatever they're triggered by, whatever's bothering them, whatever things they need to deal with, and especially if it's top of mind, they're going to apply that to your words, whether it's relevant or not. That's kind of what we tend to do. And so I can't control how people choose to interpret my words. I put them out there, the right people will see them, and to the right person, to my ideal client, she is going to read that how I intended it to be interpreted. So obviously, like, this person is not for me, they're not an ideal client, and that's okay. But it was still that initial, like, you're not getting it. And so I really wanted to be like, but I was just, listen, I do not control her mind. I do not control how she reacts or responds, or what she thinks, or how she interprets. I cannot control that. She's just, that's on her. And so I just commented, I'm like, oh, I think I understand how you're interpreting this. Okay, I get it. And I left it at that, right? Because it's also not worth an argument. I could maybe spend one line being like, oh, this is kind of what I meant by this. If she gets it, great. If she doesn't, we just call her a day, because we can't control other people, right? So, pardon me, it is this kind of, always, okay, checking in, right? So getting better. And again, because we will never be perfect. So there's always little tweaks, little things we can always be working on. But I think so important, are you being your own worst enemy? Are you beating yourself down because you think, whether you're trying to start the business, grow the business, get the promotion, whatever it might be, if you are constantly so hard on yourself, so negative, beating yourself down every single day, your confidence is not going to be super high. The image of yourself is not going to be as good as it should be. And of course, if you're not having that high confidence, the high self-image, all of those things, pardon me, then you're not succeeding in your work, in your business, like you should either, because you're not trusting yourself fully, because again, you're beating yourself down. You are your own, like, little mental abuser, right? So how can you possibly just give it 120% in your business, in your work, and all those things, when you've been beaten down and you're beating yourself down, right? I think that's the worst part, is, we do it to ourselves. So like I said, this got pointed out to me last week, and I was like, oh, oh, dang. Yeah, I can't believe I do that. I can't believe I've taken over that role that I was so annoyed with as a kid. Because I remember, coming home and I got one answer wrong on a test, and my mom looked at it. She's like, "Well, you could have got 100." Puts the test down and walks away. And not to poo poo on my mom. I love my mom. And I remember just being like, why do I bother? If it's never good enough, why am I even giving a crap to try and, make them happy? So it had this negative impact on me, right? And here I am now doing the same thing to myself. Like, oh, it's just, and again, I've said it. I did a video yesterday about this and I said it in the video, but this is also why it's so important to have someone with you on your journey that can point this stuff out. Because if I didn't have my mentor to point that out, how long would I have just continued with my blind spot in oblivion, beating myself down, holding myself back, and really hindering my progress, not just in my self-growth, but in my business? Like, when we're being beaten down, it affects all areas of our lives, right? So it's pretty important thing to really deal with. So I would say really just pay attention for the next week or so. Really pay attention to the things you say to yourself, and not just like what you're saying, but the actual specific words you use, right? And again, this is something I'm doing. I'm going to do it for the next couple of weeks for sure, to really kind of understand the depth of where I'm at on that scale of, am I really hard on myself all the time? Are there certain situations I'm harder on? Like, where am I kind of doing the worst to myself? In what areas do I really need to work on? So yeah, I would challenge you, like, even if you just pick one or two words, like, how often in a week, how often in a day do you say can't, right? Do you have these depriving negative type words that you use? And especially, to yourself. And I think it's very interesting too. I would also take note how often you hear them, because that's going to have an effect where you need to have that ability to hear someone say, you can't, like, you want to start a business, you want to grow your business, you want to quit your 9 to 5, you want to get the promotion, you want to compete with, Office Bob, who's amazing, and you want to get the promotion instead of him. Like, whatever it might be, there's always that one person who says, like, oh, you'll never do that. Oh, you can't do that. Oh, that's a no. And they're just there to kind of slam the door on your fingers, right? And really, yeah, take in how often you hear stuff like that from different people, and really give yourself that, okay, what do they actually mean by this? Because a lot of times, again, it's about that we're gonna switch and talk into reframing. When you hear these negative words, like, we take it in, like, from my teachers, from my parents growing up, clearly we take it in, and then we start doing it to ourselves when we hear it enough, right? Especially, if you have your best friends, we've all done this growing up, where you have your group of friends and you all start, like, using the same language, having the same influxes, like, because you kind of you like each other, so you pick up each other's little quirks, each other's little slang, stuff like that, right? So who you hang out with all the time, what kind of language do they use? Are you going to pick up on that, right? So that's why it's important to know who you're hearing a lot of this from. And then being able to sit back and be like, okay, so I want to start an online business because I eventually want to get out of my 9 to 5, and I want to have that financial and time freedom. And let's say your bestie's like, oh, you can't do that. Everyone fails. You're going to waste your money. Nope. And instead of being offended or upset about it, you can be like, okay, this is my best friend. Again, what are the meanings behind this? Does she actually think I literally can't do this? Or she's actually concerned that I might actually not be able to pay my bills one day. I'm going to waste all my money. And she doesn't want to see me fail in that regard, because that, obviously, it is always a possibility. Not, a lot of entrepreneurs, we fail before we succeed. Sometimes one time, sometimes 10 times. Like, everyone's journey is different, but you really need to analyze, is this coming from, like, a place of love and concern, or is this coming from a place of jealousy, or Maybe it's like Office Karen and she's just kind of a spiteful, nasty little person and she just likes to poo poo on people all day. Who is the person behind saying the words and what do you think their intention is? And then you can clarify, like going back to if it's your best friend saying, like, oh, you can't do that. No, you're going to fail, blah, blah, blah. You can be like, listen, okay, I'm going to do this regardless. I'm hearing your words. Like, do you really think I can't literally do this? Or are you just afraid I'm going to fail and I'm going to lose a ton of money? Like, why do you think I can't? Get clarification. 9 times out of 10, the person's going to come and be like, it's just really scary. And like, what if it doesn't work? And then you're going to be out all the money. Like, oh my God, I just don't want that for you. Like, you're my best friend. I love you. I just want you to have money and pay bills and be safe and secure and all that. And then she'd be like, oh, that's so nice of you. I get it, blah, blah, blah. And 9 times out of 10, she's going to say, I'm sure you can, but the market, breaking into that space is difficult and blah, blah, blah. I'm not saying you don't have the ability to, it's just kind of a crapshoot. And you can be like, okay, cool. So you think I can do it. You just don't know how long it'll take for me to do it, how long it'll take to break into the market, how much money it's going to take me and effort and time to get there. That's more of what that's about, right? And then all of a sudden, instead of having a fight where my best friend doesn't think I can do stuff or something like that, you can be like, okay, I understand your concern and thank you. Thank you for being concerned and caring about me. I appreciate that. Love you too. Right? So again, the words, the meanings behind that, and really get to the root of that. And that's the same when you're talking to yourself. Like, well, I guess it's okay. Well, why would you say that? Why do you guess it's okay? Why isn't it, something that you're proud of or something that you can be happy? Like really think about it, really sit on it. Why did you just say that to yourself? What's behind that? I know for myself, when I think about like, why would I say that? Honestly, it's like a bad habit. I don't think like consciously, I would never belittle myself, put myself down, like any of that, right? It's just that bad habit I've picked up from my childhood that I now have and now I have to break. It's not that I don't believe in myself. It's not that I don't think I'm competent, but it's that, we can always do better to some degree. Like, if you do the project takes 2 hours, but you spend 20 hours, I'm sure the 20-hour project is going to be slightly better because you just put more time into it. That's kind of just statistically how that works. But it's that gauging of how much time do I want to put into this? And am I going to actually put it out there so it can start doing what it's supposed to? Period. So really just having these, talks with yourself again, because sometimes it is just as simple as like, wow, this is just a bad habit that I picked up when I was younger. I've done it always. And I just need to break this because I don't believe that there's anything wrong with the stuff I do. And I do know that every time I complete something, I am happy with it. That's why I walk away. I push the end, push the finish, push the post, whatever it is. And I walk away because I'm satisfied with that because that's just how I operate. So, and this is just a lingering leftover bad habit that I didn't even realize I had. It's kind of like if you chew your nails, if you're not really conscious of how much you chew your nails or you chew your lip or something, and then someone points it out, you're like, oh, totally do that. There might not be a whole heap behind it, but there might. There might be something behind it where you really do feel like, I actually don't know if I'm good enough. And then that's another issue, another reframe that needs to happen, right? So really getting to the cause, because that's the basic thing. At the end of the day, if we're going to change the bad habits, if we're going to reframe, our beliefs or what we think are like why we do something, we need to know what the actual why is. Like, why are we actually doing this, right? We need to know that in order to change the actual behavior. It's like, if you, well, now I can't actually think of anything. But it's like putting the Band-Aid, they talk about getting to the root cause of, for example, you have eczema. I suffer from eczema myself. In Canada, it was really bad. And my doctor just kept putting on giving me cortisol cream, which did nothing because it was a band-aid. It was just to take away the superficial eczema on the skin, but it didn't get to the root cause of why do I have eczema. Well, it's an autoimmune issue. There's something going on in my, back to my gut flora, my digestive system. That's where our immune system comes from. That is causing this eczema to flare up. Okay, well, putting the cortisone cream on pretty much did nothing except I lost a lot of layers of skin, still had eczema, still was bleeding, still was itching, still like barely tolerated my life. And then I went to a naturopath and he asked me, okay, he says, we need to get to the root of why you have eczema. Let's talk. And I'm like, thank you. Yes. Why? And like a month later, working with him, getting to the root cause, the actual reason, and boom, like 90% of all my eczema was cleared up, like done. And now you wouldn't even know I had it unless I, go on a huge cleaning spree and days, put my hands in the water for days and days and days, then I might get one eczema bump or something. But yeah, it's this getting to the root cause of what it is, because if you don't treat the root issue, you're not really going to successfully make any changes. So yeah, I hope that all made sense, guys. I know everything is so interconnected and it's tough sometimes for me to not talk about everything at once and everything that connects to everything. But I hope I got that point across, and just to really, really understand and know, like, you need to be your own best cheerleader and not your own worst enemy, because the negativity we can bring to ourselves being our own worst enemy, it really can make or break our business. And if, we're our best cheerleader, we're just going to succeed and thrive and flourish so much more, so much faster. Everything is going to be just expedited through the roof because we're not battling ourselves. That's the biggest thing. We're not fighting ourselves to succeed. Right? So that's why, again, it's so important to get this self-talk under control, understand what are the actual words I'm using, because our words matter a lot, and really get that under control and really flip it so you are your own best cheerleader. So leave me some comments. Let me know how you feel about this. Let me know if you've kind of caught yourself doing some of these. Yeah, actually, I do say some negative things to myself, and yeah, let me know. Or even better, if you need, I put in these videos on YouTube, and I know it streams on LinkedIn, where you can go in, you can DM me on LinkedIn or YouTube. I have the link in the description for this, where you can book a call with me. All the calls are free. Like, there's no, it's not a sales call. It's a hey, what's up? Let's chat. Right? I'm not a pushy, salesy, I'm not here to just take your money. Obviously, if I was, I wouldn't be out here giving away all my information for free. So yeah, if you ever want to talk, definitely DM me, book a call through the link, whatever it is. And yeah, other than that, guys, it is, as always, it is Thursday, which means it's practically Friday. So have a very, very wonderful week.